I am glad to now invite the Chief Guest of the occasion, Smt.Vijaya Kanth ma'am, to kindly address the gathering with her words of wisdom. It is all the more special to hear from ma'am as she laid the foundation stone of IRIFM, which is now one of the best training institutes in the country. Ma'am, please grace the occasion with your encouraging words.
Thank you, Surabhi, for the homecoming talk. It was very warm. Member Finance, Retd Board, Mr. Naresh Salecha. Additional Member Sri Pandey, BJ IRIFM, Mrs. Reena Ranjan, Sri Nihal Jabusaria, President, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, respected seniors of the IRAS, my colleagues from the service, and dear probationers. It's nice to see some probationers are here. And Surabhi, it is very nice the way, confident way you're speaking. I wish you all a very warm good morning. It is indeed an honor and a privilege for me to address all of you today. When Member Finance requested if I could consider to be the chief guest today, I feel overwhelmed. My thoughts immediately went to 24th November 2012, when we had the very first IRAS Day celebration. It was so nice to see all the senior retired officers coming there, and there was a great, festive feeling. I think that is what IRAS is all about. Thank you, Naresh, for inviting me to be a part of this great gathering and be able to speak to you. It is indeed heartening to note that we have continued this tradition of having the IRAS Day. And despite the pandemic, it is good that Member Finance has organized IRAS Day 2020, because that was a year that never happened. And we don't want it to happen again. And I'm sure that we can look forward to a good IRAS Day in the year 2021, when all of us can physically meet. When we started IRAS Day in 2012, the idea of celebrating the day, in fact, a lot of old retired officers used to ask me, it wasn't my original idea. They said, let us have a day where we all get to meet. So the idea was that we could provide a platform to all the seniors and the juniors from the IRAS. A generation of IRAS officers would assemble for a few free flow of ideas, leading to a greater bonhomie in the cadre, and I think this is what has happened. When Mr. Salecha requested me to speak a few words, I started jotting down a few points of what I could. See, after all, it's quite some time since I retired. You know, I felt totally liberated to be talking to you today. I'm not shackled and bound to speak about the half-yearly review of suspense balance with all of you. I feel free. I can speak on any subject within the boundaries of talking about our service. I can speak. I thought that I would like to speak on certain issues and what I have learned from being a part of this great service. It has taught me, after all, once we join a cadre, after 37 years, it becomes a part of you. I would like to share some fundamental values that has been inculcated in me by the service and which I have learned. And like most of us, I believe in old-fashioned values and traditions because they never go out of fashion and they stay with you forever. Now, I also felt that whatever I'm speaking today, I cannot be advising my seniors because they have guided me. I know my batchmates, Ananta Narayan and Deepali Irun, are all laughing their heads off. You know, batchmates being batchmates, they are having a great time seeing me talk. So who will be my targeted captive audience? It is you youngsters, the young officers and the probationers of the IRAS to whom I am really going to address. Tell me, have any of you thought, what is IRAS about? Because you don't read about this in the codes and manuals. To me and to most of us, being an... Now, what do I mean by the treatment? Because I certainly don't want to be not heard. It means listen to what your juniors have to say. We always give respect to our senior officers, and you better do, because they are going to write your ECRs. But when you listen to your juniors, you know, there are a lot of ideas that come from them. I've had seniors, and many of them are perhaps listening to this program, who have guided me and never made me feel small at any point of time. I'd like to name particularly Mr. P.V. Vasudevan, Mr. Shivakumaran, who are financial commissioners, Mr. L. Shankaran, Mr. R.S. Narayanan, who is no more. They have guided me by their actions. And I use this occasion also, seniors, to thank you all for guiding me so well. Now, coming back to why you should hear out what are the aspirations of the young officers. I always used to call them, especially as FC, to know what they wished from our cadre. Now, while much of it or some of it were not possible, the one common request which I had in 2012 as FC was all of them aspired for a training institute exclusively for the finance department. Now I came back to board, and I mean, in the board that we discussed it with all the senior officers to see whether this was possible. And yes, it is very much possible. So we, Mr. Mahapatra and Mr. Vaidilingam, we made several trips to Secunderabad to locate a good place, because I thought I should give you the background of IRIFM. And met the GM, and this beautiful campus where IRIFM is now located is what we found, thanks to the then GM, Mr. Devi Pandey, and we decided that we would have the IRIFM Institute here. But then there's a lot of background work which you should know has gone into it. It had to be naturally justified and included in the Railways Works program. And when the finance, you know, as you all know, when we finance people need something, we meet with a lot of resistance from the board. The other members want to know why they can't also have one. And anyway, everything went off well. The minister was most gracious about it, and it got included in that year's works program, because I wanted to ensure that it is done before I leave. And then it was, the rest is, of course, the successive FCs, especially Mr. Mahapatra and others, who saw to it that the institute came up. I'm so happy to see, and Reena has taken us a nice virtual trip on the campus. I wish, you know, when this pandemic is over, I'm able to make a trip there and see it for myself. And my only request is, this beautiful premier institution which we have today, we should make use of this to its maximum advantage. I sometimes get to see the journal reverberations, and I can see it reverberates with the pride and the happiness of all the participants at IRIFM campus. Now, what I'm trying to say is, IRIFM was an initiative of the IRAS, and that came out of the aspirations and the dreams of the young officers. That is why I insist and I request all of you to keep your communication channels open with your juniors and especially the probationers. And on the subject of being a good listener, I would also advise the younger officers, do respect and value the guidance given by your seniors in the department, because they are the ones who are to shape your career. Our service is one of the very few services that treats its younger officers and probationers very well. We take care of them. I have been treated well as a probationer, and I'm sure all of you will do that. Another valuable lesson, I'm just sharing some of the lessons I have learned. Another valuable lesson which I When I was a very junior officer, my then FA told me that whenever you occupy a post, see what little contribution you can do to that post. You know, clearing of files and proposals is something we do every day, but you must leave something behind in that position. So when you occupy a new position, make a list of what you would like to do to improve upon the system. It could be a very small thing like simplifying a very small procedure, a bill passing procedure, or it could be preparing a manual with the guidelines of whatever the railway board have issued, the local circulars, and you can leave this for your successors who can make use of it. Believe me, this small act of yours will give you a tremendous sense of satisfaction later when you hear that this has been made use of. One more lesson, because I don't want to bore you too much on all the Naresh has given me only 15 minutes. Another lesson is consciously do a good deed every day or at least once a week. It can be something simple as talking to your driver or to your staff, because they may be upset or depressed with something which is happening in the office, and just being a good listener to them is all that they want, whether you can resolve it or not. You know, I just want to share several years back when I was on deputation, I had a driver called Pandyan, and he was a contract driver. I heard that his wife was suffering from cancer, a young girl of 28 with 2 small children. Then since he would not have perhaps used the money if I give him, I went to the cancer hospital and remitted the amount for her treatment, which was done. She is today happy and healthy, and the children are grown up. But what I'm trying to say is, when you do a good deed, it comes back to you. A few years later, a close relative of mine was hospitalized, and she needed an urgent blood transfusion of a rare blood group. This driver heard about it and came to me and said, "Madam, I have that blood group. Can I donate?" You see, that is how it got done. So whatever good you do comes back to you through somebody or in some manner. So try to do a good deed every day. Now, after some years, you know, by the time you would have completed about 20 years of what we call as qualifying service, you start feeling a little bored. You start feeling a little restless, because, you know, doing the same accounts and finance work, you may feel a little stale and staid. And then you look for, it is natural but human, to look for something thrilling and interesting outside. But tell me, the IRAS gives you the opportunity to work anywhere else. See, we IRAS officers are fully equipped to go out on deputations, foreign, Indian, and that is because we have the exposure of working with all the departments in our initial years. And that is why IRAS officers do very well when they go out on deputation. So there is no reason why you should look outside after some years of service. Let me tell you, this is your la-la land. There is no la-la land outside. IRAS, you have joined the service with your aspirations and dreams. Continue to enjoy what you're doing and take this as your la-la land. Here I would like to give a small quote from what Steve Jobs said. Your mind is going to fill, your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. So do try to do that. And this is what I used to advise as FA, because I think sometime in 2010 or 11, there was a feeling among some of the younger officers to move out to other services. I used to tell them, stay on and you will not regret it. I, friends, have spent 37 years in this wonderful organization, and not for a moment have I regretted it. And I have only fond memories of being with the IRAs. Coming to some serious issues regarding our service, IRAS has faced several challenges in the past, but with the collective effort of the cadre, we have been able to overcome and adapt ourselves to the situation. A few years back, in 2017, there was a paradigm shift of the railway budget being merged with the union budget. But we learned to accept it and adapt ourselves to it. So everything goes fine once you learn to, because change is, as we know, the only constant factor in our lives, and IRAs is no exception. Now we will have to keep facing the challenges, and I'm confident that whatever shape the organization takes, the core values of IRAS will survive. Now, Indian Railways is going on for a massive transformation, and we are not going to remain unaffected. We'll certainly be affected in some way or the other. But in the long run, we will learn to adapt to this, because stress is never in the situation. It is in our ability to manage it, and IRAS will manage it. It is, I think, the youngsters are now driven by the fear of the unknown. What will happen to them if there's a terrible transformation? What will happen to themselves? It is rightly, you are correct in worrying about it, but learn to handle it as it comes, and don't take any rash decisions of leaving the service. I quote here, which I am very fond of, a few lines from Khalil Gibran's Fear. He says, quote, "It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. It is not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean." And that's the resilience of our wonderful service, the Indian Railway Account Service. We will all be doing well. And I wish you all I can go on and on, but there is a time. I wish you all a great day. And thank you, Member Finance, Mr. Salecha, and all of you for giving me this opportunity to be able to share my views. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your kind words. It has once again instilled a feeling of pride and confidence amongst all of us to be member of the esteemed IRAS community.